This is a spoiler cast.
This is a comment on some of the things in the chat. It's like, this is a discussion about University Days as a whole, as well as specifically the last 2 chapters. It's hard to talk about the last 2 chapters without bringing in a bit of spoilers. But yeah, that's the point. So you just kind of, it's like, if you really want to hear us yammer, go read the chapter, then come back and watch the yammering.
This is not what I expected. This is not a normal day. I never thought that things would turn out this way. And I don't know where I will be in 20 years, but these are our university days. University days.
For the past couple of years, I've considered myself to be decidedly unromantic, though I'm also very impressionable, so it's possible that I just haven't read anything romantic in quite a while. This seems likely since the last romance story I even remember liking was Girlfriends, which I read in 2010. The fact that both that and this are lesbian fics about cartoon characters should reveal a few of my biases right off the bat. When I bother to write a romance, I always represent lovers as halves of a whole. And I've gotta say, it's been a long time since I've longed for anything like that myself. Actually, Vinyl and Octavia University Days doesn't make me lonely. I seem to have outgrown any anxiety over my lonely, sexless existence, perhaps because I'm too wrapped up in living my life as a postmodern art piece, and because, honestly, my friends provide more than enough companionship. The pain of reading Vinyl and Octavia is one of vicariously enjoying their romance way too much. In the later chapters, when they start thinking in entire paragraphs about one another's smallest movements, I often have to pause reading and punch myself in the chest so that my heart will stop fluttering. When I got to the sex scene, I had to down a beer just to hold myself together, and it took a few more to write this review. Vinyl and Octavia University Days is like perfection on the conceptual level unfolding before me. Every time a plot element is introduced, a little man stands up in my head and screams, "Yes!" out of sheer satisfaction that Dawn could give me exactly what I want out of a romance story. All of the satisfaction and none of the bullshit. All of the depth and thought with all of the charm and appeal. The verbiage is cheeky as fuck and I love every sentence of it. Aria fans will know what I mean when I start screaming, "Embarrassing remarks are not allowed" at the fic. I am in love with the vinyl that is in love with the Octavia that is in love with the vinyl that I am in love with. And the same goes for Octavia. Even the Lyra and Bonbon subplot couldn't be handled with more fucking class if it were written by a monocle. So here I am, downing drinks, so I can pass out on the road, and I'll cry myself to sleep if Octavia never comes for me. Shit, I'm crying already. As to the subject of dramatic readings, I just don't know. I expect that I'll hate anything I try and that I'll never get it done. And now that I've written this, it might just satisfy me until a new chapter comes out. When that happens, we'll see.
Hello everyone, sorry for that bit of rough intro and some technical issues in the beginning, but I guess that's my ironic reputation. I'd like to welcome you to the University Days live stream. Here I have Digibrony, for those of you who don't know him, Cherax Destructor, a musician and huge fan of University Days, FiveOFlutter, who was in a podcast with Cherax Destructor and a few others a few months back. We have an esteemed author, Penstroke, joining us today. And then there's me, your host, that nobody knows, Techno Shock. So if you haven't paid attention to Spider's CBDs, you have seen me in the past. I'll start this off, even though you guys can't hear me, I'll start it off with, you guys have all read chapters 20, 21 to the end, and then the epilogue of University Days. I want to start with your reactions to it. What did you guys think was the endings? And
let's start with Digibrony, who prepared fine YouTube video fantasmism stuff about University Days. What did you feel about the ending?
The ending was exactly what I expected it to be. After the last chapter, it was kind of like, well, she's probably going to face her mom, and she's probably going to have a happy ending, because this is University Days, and it's all about being, very sweet and cute and everything kind of working out. So
love conquers all kind of mentality.
Right. I thought it was great that it really let Octavia have her own moment, all to herself to do this thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was exactly what I would have done if I had been writing it myself. So, like, I exactly saw it coming, It's not a complaint. It's just, like, I guess 6 months of time makes you think maybe he's going for something different, but it is exactly what, what I would have thought of 6 months ago.
The thing that's different is real life gets in the way.
Right.
What about someone else? Next person. I'll go last because I'm mitigating here.
We have a question, if you don't mind me interrupting here. Cherax, are you going to be doing a live reading of the epilogue?
Yeah, I do need to do a reading.
Like,
I
had to read
don't
this.
Want me to do a live reading, believe me.
Not live reading, I mean like a reading.
No, I'm assuming this is to be joining other previously done readings of the other 20-some chapters.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So everything else I have read at some point, and of course, why would I stop here? That would be the weirdest thing ever. And it's really 1,000 words.
It's the ultimate cliffhanger. It's like we know that there's more, but you just won't give it to us.
Yeah.
The cliffhanger is why. Why do you deny us? What do you think, Five? What did you think of the ending?
Oh, it blew me out of the water. Like, honestly, this was. I knew not Cherax. I know you're awesome, Cherax, but I knew DawnFade was, he's just such a phenomenal writer, and I expected him to do really good, but I was literally like jumping out of my chair, throwing fist bumps. Like, I was so happy for Vinyl on the latest chapter, Octavia. I was so happy and then this epilogue was nice little showing that they're back. It's year 2. It was really nice. I really liked it, and I'm really glad that it got finished. That too.
All right. Well, I'm going to sour the mood just a little bit. I did enjoy the ending myself personally. There were two bits I was kind of a little meh about. One, that the financial situation for the semester of reprieve was figured out in the course of one scene. Right. It would have been nice to maybe see that left a little bit as a hanger, and then getting a little bit of information on that in the epilogue, perhaps, of how well it turned out or what the end solution was. But it's like, oh, we have a problem, and we're solving it in the same scene. Kind of, it's like...
Yeah, FiveOFlutter has a dangerous-looking individual standing behind him, by the way. I don't know if he's noticed.
Do you know he's there, man?
Oh, fuck, there's a guy behind me? I had no clue.
But then, to get on to my other point, and... It's like, this is to comment on some of the things in the chat, it's like this is a discussion about University Days as a whole, as well as specifically the last 2 chapters. It's hard to talk about the last 2 chapters without bringing in a bit of spoilers, and so we do.
This is a spoiler cast.
But yeah, that's the point. So you just kind of, it's like, if you really want, I believe this recording will be up somewhere once it's done. It's like, you want to hear us yammer, go read the chapter, then come back and watch the yammering. Well, they may miss out a little bit on the savvy chatting that occurs amidst these live streams, but what can you do then? But to loop back around off this wild tangent, the one other part of the ending I was a little meh about was the sudden is that during Vinyl's confrontation with her mother, we get a little insight into her mother as to why, and it's like the way that was done, I feel, could have been handled differently. It's like, it's good to hear it from the horse's mouth, literally, but it seems that her mother broke on that subject just a little too easily. It's just like it was a guarded secret for how many years that she was kind of trying to live vicariously through Octavia.
What bothered me there was just not just that she got into it so easily, but that she like literally just spills the whole thing like that. It didn't take like egging on or like, I mean, she does a little at first, but she really just is like goes into exposition mode like a snap.
Yeah, that is what it did feel like a bit. It was a bit exposition mode.
You have beaten me, therefore by the ancient rites I shall now recite my life story to you. Like.
But it's like.
probing for that big of a secret. So that's just
Yeah, it's like perhaps it could have been handled better. Just like it's like we just needed a bit of the like maybe hearing the shortened cut version from a servant, leaving some of the details up to imagination. Just like a photo of her her mother playing the cello at some point, and then kind of a touch. It's like, oh yeah, she used to do it, but then this happened, and then it's like it leaves a little bit up. It explains enough that we can start to see connections as readers ourselves, but it still leaves something up to the imagination. Because like, if you want to go this deep and get probed this long, we probably should have had a few more a chapter 2 more that was just for, or a chapter 2 more worth of text, maybe sprinkled throughout the last bit of the story that was focused just on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this chapter kind of gets a little bit of a special exemption from that. I think like that's completely perfect and accurate as a criticism, but given the extenuating circumstances of DawnFade kind of disappearing for 8 months and then wanting to get it over and done with, it's kind of like when
it's
a
like
TV show gets cancelled at episode 14 and they have to kind of like shoehorn in like everything that they planned for the last
or like what
2
happened with,
seasons or something.
or what happened with, or what happened, or what happened with Firefly. It got a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
To finish it off.
So with any luck, we'll get the movie of University Days sometime.
But yeah, no, it's like it's better to have the ending than not to have the ending. So I can't see your point in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Cherax Destructor. I can't. I was trying to make it sound fancy. What do you think of the last chapter, Cherax?
I'm sorry, I can't think about anything now that you just said that. That's.
Cherax Destructor.
Charo Destructor.
Charo.
I could go for some Cherax. Yeah, tangential. I thought, I mean, it feels rushed, and that's obviously to be expected. And if I had my way, in a perfect world, it wouldn't have been. This would have taken another year or so to finish over the course of the year, and it would have been perfectly paced, and no one would have any criticisms ever. But given what the situation DawnFade was in, and you need to get out of it, I completely understand. I think this finished it off the best it could, and I wasn't like screaming, "No, what are you doing at it?" Like I do.
There was no sharks. There was no sharks jumped.
No,
exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
I think if we're being completely honest, it's fair to say that that sort of rushing through plot points has always been a thing in University Days. Like, there's always been a certain amount of like things work out very quickly, or they figure things out very quickly. Like for me, the biggest one reading the story the first time was when they first share a kiss, and she like immediately runs to Psyche's office, resolves everything, and comes back and is like prepared in the span of like 15 minutes, And so I do think the story has had a habit of this. But again,
equestrian psychology severely more effective than
I could get
human
some of that.
psychology.
Definitely.
It's like either their psyches are simpler than we give them credit, or we're just messed up folks.
Right.
I wish I could have a devastating fucking effect and then 50 minutes
Right. That'd be great. But
I think you're not wrong in that sense, like with the pacing, but the whole Octi's mother story arc had been, I think she comes in like chapter 8. So it feels like with everything else, it comes in one chapter, it goes out in the same chapter, or like the chapter after. With this, it feels like, oh, like we're prepping for something big here. And then it kind of comes to a head immediately and then falls back down. You're like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's like we've been having this building for several chapters, and then it's like we hit the climax, and then it's fully resolved with all its mystery exposed, like a frog on a biology table within a single scene.
But you know what I did like about the scene? Before she spills her guts, because I did think that was too quick, but the whole fight leading up to it, like the verbal battle between them, I thought was just...
Yeah.
It's back. Okay. I guess I'll just repeat the last thing I said, because...
I don't think you'll repeat it as eloquently, though. You're doomed.
No, I can do this. Alright, so... During that scene, there's a rapid back and forth. Damn it, I already fucked up. During the scene, there's a back and forth between Octavia and her mom in which every single line is perfectly crafted like a tactician, because Octavia would have had to ruminate on every line to make sure that it was just right to have the effect that it would have on her mom, to make sure that the conversation would progress the way she wanted it to. And so to write that, it also meant DawnFade had to sit there like a tactician and figure out exactly which lines would work. And it all works. You know, as a reader, I never felt like, oh, would she really give in to that phrase? You know, it was just the perfect right phrase that I go, ooh, she did it. She hit her. You know, like, it felt like this really well-made tactical battle of wits and words.
It's like sometimes characters have verbal duels. This one was more like a
Talk about the whatever.
It's like, yeah, it's like, Techno, you were the one with the battle plan. We've already talked about several points about the last chapter and epilogue. We answered a few questions. What are we supposed to do now that makes this last 2 hours?
Okay, so let's see here. This is the battle plan that you guys were talking about.
Okay, so then
So
I think we're ready to move on to the favorite moments in the fic bit.
yes, we're onto that. So favorite moments there were quite a lot of gems in this one for me. Like, there was a lot of moments, like Digi said in his review, of like, there was just a lot of moments of yes.
Yeah.
My favorite scene will like always be that part after chapter 16, the
University Nights.
University Nights. Just because
It's your favorite scene.
That really was
gonna
a
say
well-written scene, though. Like,
Yes.
that was a very
That's my
artistic
point.
scene.
that's my point. It actually took expectations and literally like threw them on the moon. Like, I can't think of a bigger expression. It literally blew them away.
Your expressions were your expectations were lunid.
They were like more than that. Like, it was explosive. I expected to come into something like slimy and dirty and I got something just beautiful and artistic.
I don't understand why you expected that when you were reading this fic, though.
Yeah.
For
because
me,
it was auxiliary. It wasn't, it was. I expected it to be something not pertaining to the story completely, just kind of there.
I don't know.
No,
I felt like
basically,
reading the
like,
story, I was like, oh, we're gonna get a really cutesy sex scene.
for
I
me,
expected like a hardcore 50 Shades of Grey
oh my
kind of
god.
like
50
sex.
Shades of Grey is not very hardcore, but that's
Yeah.
for a
That's the
different,
most hardcore I know.
for a
Like,
different
I don't
time.
know. Some
Okay.
Japanese.
Oh
manga
god, let's not open that can of worms.
Japanese manga hardcore.
Okay. But for me, I don't read Klops, but I was aware of it, so I was like going into this, I'm like, oh god, what is this going to be? And I was just like 5, I was just like you, where I was just like, holy crap, this is very, very well, like, I was just blown away by it. I was like, this is amazing.
It's pretty good. It's really good. I did also like the arguing scene between Octavia and her mother. I really like that scene.
Yeah, like,
As
we
I
already
said,
talked about that.
I know,
But
I know.
think we need- it's like
something
I think we
that's
need to
not
take-
those last 2 chapters.
Yeah, exactly. We need moments from not the last 2 chapters.
Right. The funny thing about the sex scene for me, because everyone always says like, oh man, I was expecting it to be like dirty, and I was so happy that it wasn't dirty. And I was like, I wanted it to be dirty. Like,
Yeah.
I went into reading it and I was like, oh right, it's about to be like some. I'm gonna get to see some fucking hardcore
Super lesbian stuff.
porn. And then it was like nothing, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that was cute.
I guess that was cute. Still want
Guess I
porn.
put my pants back.
To get the subject back out of the X-rated area,
It wasn't
I-
even
one of
X-rated. That's
my-
like when you go to watch a black and white French film of the human body. Like, that's like a totally different thing.
yes. It's like, to hark back to the very beginning of the story, one of the gems I find was the how their relationship started, as like this bitter evil rivalry.
Oh,
that
yeah.
The psychologist,
Just
the
egging them
class
on.
Psychologist kind of like, go spend time with one another, and then we'll see if you still hate each other. And then it turned into that little game where they pretended to still hate each other.
Those arguments that they would have were amazing. Like, just... Oh god, what was it? It's like...
My favorite scene altogether might be when she's trying to get into her room and the random OC Pegasus was like stalling her, and she just starts like spelling different words for stalling. I love that because I'm the kind of person who doesn't. It takes me a minute to figure out when the writer's like doing a thing, You know, so at first I'm just like, what is she getting at here? And then as she starts spelling the words, I'm like, oh, ha, this is hilarious. Octi not realizing it, and it made me really, it's one of those moments I kind of feel clever for getting it, and the character doesn't, and, you know.
It's like, I know something you don't know.
Right, a little bit like that, and it was adorable at the same time. Also, I love the whole,
And Cherax has a cat.
conceal the sex scene, like, that's another one of my favorite things.
Oh yeah, it's like, we kind of heard you last night, so here's a spell to muffle the room.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's
A great
like it's like
detail
being
to
told
include.
by a friend the rule of the sock on the doorknob.
I mean, it was a clever world building thing though to have a spell like that. You know, it's something that makes perfect sense within the universe, but something you never probably would have thought of. You know, and I thought that was one of the cool little ideas. It's like, oh, that's neat. I'm glad they came up with that.
Also useful by parents who just got their children drum sets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great.
I do know that there's like different kinds of soundproofing, but like like you said, it definitely does. Like it would totally make sense in that world. You just like wouldn't think of an application like that for something
Right.
of that
That's the
nature.
kind of thing I see getting copied by other people in other fanfics. You know, like
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't actually seen that, but I could totally see people going, "Oh man, I totally got to use that silencing spell from that fic." You know, from
It's like,
my own.
oh, this pony is
That's how
making
the
a
murder
bomb.
That's how the murder stops the blood-curdling screams of his
Exactly.
victims.
Exactly.
He brings them into a tea room, and then it's silence completely.
Hmm.
And Cherax, you have a cat,
Yeah.
or you had a cat.
Whatevs.
This is Scout. She hasn't read the fic.
This is spoilers for the cat.
She can always
Yeah.
listen to your reading of it though.
Yeah, well, I keep playing it to her, but she just yowls at me.
For me, there was one scene where I thought like Dawn was like really trying to show like how like pure this whole thing was, where it was Octavia playing her cello. I think it was at sundown, like, and then Vina wakes up and she just like starts drawing, and like that becomes a thing throughout the entire fic. It's like, oh, like why do you draw me in this way? It's like, why do you do this the way you do? It's like, oh, this is just how I see you, how I feel about you, and how I try to put it onto paper. That's like this whole like meta artistic thing that's just like I just
definitely interesting to have
I
Final have more
forgot
than
that
one
scene.
artistic passion. Like I thought that was cool.
and it starts with her doing the little notation on the paper like over and over and over again during art class, like in the 3rd chapter, I think.
Mm.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, what are you drawing? Don't worry about it. Jeez, relax.
I forgot so many good scenes about the story. Like I remember the drunken scene. I remember the kiss scene. I remember like the big scenes. But
Everyone remembers the
details
drunk
that I
scene because of
forgot.
Cherax here
Yeah,
Right.
screw you, Cherax.
Drunk on something.
on the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk, thinking of her.
Let's just all do the sing along right now. Cherax, start us
That's
off.
the only line I know, except go to her, go to
Of the chorus.
her.
So you know the
I'm almost on the point where I like want to cover that song. You know, I love it that much. Okay, screw you,
Go ahead.
Cherax. You've got me addicted. That's like the only. That's my alarm clock now. You know, you understand how much I love the acoustic song. I love both of the versions, but when you put out the acoustic, I like shat myself. Honestly.
Wait, Penn, did you say your favorite part?
Yeah, I did. I was the one that brought up the arguing with the psychiatrist earlier.
Okay, yeah.
We're going for general analysis and fan QA.
Yeah, so general analysis.
I didn't get to say my favorite moment.
Well, then say it.
Oh yeah, let him do it.
Yeah, that's what I was checking with everyone.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but it's the drunk scene.
Of course.
I think
It's a good thing.
when Octi sees like the 2 delinquents threatening Vinyl and says, "Back off, I know Pilates."
That line killed me.
Oh,
I know Pilates. Like I had to stop reading to just laugh. It's like, I know Pilates. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I have to laugh. Excuse me.
And I was like, oh my god, am I about to read about Octavia getting beaten up? She's an idiot.
Oh man, that would have
Yeah.
sucked.
But then
yeah,
that's
Fanfic wouldn't
that's
do
that's a
that.
perfect
I
segue.
would not read that.
That's a perfect segue into the general analysis part, where like that scene shows that she's like like she I can't quite remember if they were a couple at that point,
But it shows that she cared enough about Vinyl to like go against her mother and like all the rules that she'd had set on her for like her entire life, to sneak out and go get Vinyl and like bring, and not just get Vinyl, but take her back to her apartment and stay there with her. Because it was like super cold, but that's besides the point. It's the fact that she was able to go against everything and say, "This is my friend. I need to save her."
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
And
these
then
two
make
characters
out.
are undoubtedly they're just like the most likable, awesome characters. And I'm not trying to make them sound like they're Mary Sue's or anything, because far be it from that.
Oh,
but
no.
I do think that they are eminently likable. Like, I don't know what kind of person you'd have to be like, oh, well, Octavia in this story is lame. No, she's awesome.
Which-
She's a great
the-
person, great character. Yeah, like they're both the kind of people who
Emotionally.
I'm like, wow, I'd love to have people like this in my life.
Yes.
And that's
Like Dawn
That's, I think,
really
the-
made them like feel like not just characters in a fic. It's like you can relate to these ponies.
right.
Hmm.
Definitely. I think that for me is the strongest thing about the fic altogether, is that like it's not just that that I care about these characters, it's that they make me feel a way about the world and about people in general, which is why like in that video I kept saying how, you know, it had been a long time since I'd felt like I wanted to be a romantic, but then reading that fic made me like, wow, you know, I could use a romance in my life that it, you know.
Well,
and I
now
kind
you
of
have it.
yeah, I kind of have it now. So it's
She does mess with
my
you, though.
girlfriend Both have read the fic, and she's currently because she hasn't read the ending yet, even though she's now got it all spoiled for her by being in here. But she's
Oh, she's there with you?
Cherax's readings of it to get through again, and yeah, it feels nice to be like, this is exactly what I hoped for when I read this, and it kind of cashed in. And we're both super romantic, just like the way we write the story. So yeah.
It's given me too unrealistically high an expectation of what a boy romance should be, and
Yeah, like
I'm
Yeah.
sending it open.
It's like why is it my love like theirs?
Out of it. That's why I had to get drunk,
Yeah.
because like after to make the video, because
Yeah.
it was so much of like a thing to sit there and go, you know, I want this, but this is never going to be like this in reality. I'm glad there was a long break between like actually reading the fic and then actually getting into a relationship. It wasn't for a while, you know, but like that fic just kind
It
of
would have
puts you in
spoiled
this
it a bit.
place where it's like you want the world to be this dreamy, romantic, like, you know, unreal sort of hyper reality.
It's like it's that feeling of I want something I can't have.
Right.
Ever.
And
It's
that's
just, like,
what
longing.
it's for. That's the whole reason they invented alcohol.
But-
And if someone was asking before we started the stream if I was actually drunk when making that,
Yeah, that
it
was
wasn't
me.
Like, I wasn't like falling down drunk. I had had a couple beers, but I just felt like I needed them to get, because I wrote it on paper. Like, to me, writing on paper is more romantic, and I hadn't done it in a long time. I'd been writing all my posts and videos on the computer, so I like got a beer, went over onto my bed, wrote out my review of it on paper and everything to make it have that extra, and I edited it a lot. Like, I was really focused on making it right, and the only reason there's a notation at the start about being drunk is because of the fact that
No one would believe you otherwise.
well, no, it was because because when you're drunk and you watch it back, you can't tell if it's like if you've made stupid mistakes, you know. So I'm like assuming as like a failsafe, I've probably done something really stupid with this video because I'm drunk. So I should probably put in a note there so that when people watch it and they
In
see the
case you do
mistakes
screw
I
up.
made, they'll think, you know, they'll know why they're there. But I didn't actually make any big
Yeah.
mistakes, so it was kind
Congratulations.
of. So
Yeah,
people keep asking me like, Why do you even mention it? I don't see the point. And I'm like, well, when I was drunk, I didn't know it was pointless. I thought I'd fucked up somehow, you know.
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
But yeah, that's the logic behind that. Fuck, I was so close to winning just now. I've still been playing Minesweeper, by the way.
Well, we
well,
are abiding
we are-
by Twitch's TV rules.
Yes, we have to be
but-
playing something. If you don't care about ponies, just watch Digi's Minesweeper, and then egg him on or
and then
cheer.
Mock him. Oh, mock him. It's like, no, don't click that one. Click that one.
Can't you see that's the one next to the 3? I'm going to turn this over to the fans in the chat box who want to like ask questions or ask us to review a certain scene or what our thoughts on certain things are.
Still, any questions about the story from the chat group? Otherwise, I think we're ready to move on to the final impressions. Now that
Well, I do.
Days is done and appreciating it as a whole.
Well, yeah, but I do want people to do questions and then
Well,
my
that's
plan.
what it's like. I'm
If
trying to provoke them. I'm trying to poke them with a stick.
Hey,
I have a
people, if you
question.
want to ask us shit about
Yeah.
stuff,
ask us things about anything relating to
This
the
is the
story
last
or
one.
us.
We got someone saying, shouldn't there be a review?
Well, that's what the last bit
I
is.
don't know what that means.
Shouldn't there be a what?
Oh, okay.
A review.
A review.
Well,
And I think
Digis.
that's what the last bit is.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
That's the review. We're done. Okay, now,
Yeah,
because
hi, I've got a question here. It says in chapter 10 that Vinyl's eyes are red, but it's clearly established in the show that her eyes are magenta. What's the deal?
I think that this is a moment where University Day started before we got a good look at Vinyl Scratch's eyes.
Yeah,
and
it did.
Yeah, this is-
and
Actually,
it's-
my answer to that is read the epilogue, 'cause I'm pretty sure he got it right in there.
Did he?
He says that she has her glasses off, showing her magenta eyes, I believe, something to that effect.
I
It
think
definitely
she.
didn't say
I think it. I think it does.
Hold on,
I
hold
think-
on.
no,
I
don't know,
have
but
the
it's just
chapter
like-
right here, so I can actually
Yo,
go check
yo.
it out.
Hold on. Hold on.
No,
Hold on, hold on,
Control
hold on.
F the word
we shouldn't be
eyes and see what
talking
the
about
word is
this. I
before.
asked it facetiously.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
But still,
Okay,
if
we got-
the eyes were...
Hey,
I said hold up. I said hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Okay.
Well, quit saying hold
No,
up
no,
and
no.
say what
He-
you're
he-
trying to say for
Here-
having us
here's the
hold up.
line. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. It says blah 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 blah. The second was a white unicorn with a flat, carefully brushed neon blue mane. On her head sat a pair of dark purple shades, leaving her striking scarlet eyes completely visible. So he sticks with the red.
Chow.
Yeah,
He
that's red.
sticks with the red the whole way through. I mean,
And again,
Well,
this
it would
is
be really
this is-
weird if she changed eye
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. It's like oh,
like
red in
this
one
is
chapter,
Back
now it's
and
purple.
edited it. We'd
This
have
is
to
part
get
of the
that.
this is part of the whole grandfathering that can occur with stories, and that University Days was started before we had what could be argued a canon color for Vinyl's eyes, and so we were going off. So the popular fan choice was that Vinyl Scratch is albino, and she's got the characteristic red eyes.
Yeah, I've heard that before. And then
We have questions.
more
We have
questions.
coming in. Okay. I've been trying. That's why I was trying to get you guys to hold up.
Okay, ask the
We
question.
got- How do you guys feel about the Bon Lyra relationship in the background?
Yes, I wanted to bring that up before the whole debacle with my computer happened. The whole Lyra and Bonbon subplot.
Couldn't be handled with more class if it was written by a fucking monocle. I know.
Yes, of course. There definitely was like I'm kind of on the fence where I would have wanted to see a bit more, but then where it is now, I'm completely fine with. And then Dawn in the epilogue, he does state about Lyra and Bonbon University Days, no, because it'd basically be an exact copy of Vinyl and Octavia. Because they were going through basically the exact same thing. I do wish though that we would have had more information regarding like what the phone call was about in like chapter 8 or
Well,
something like.
some
where,
things
like-
are better left mysterious, don't you
Yeah,
think?
it's like some things are better left to
feed
the imagination. Like it's like if we can reference the episode that just aired yesterday, they did a wonderful thing where it's like they left something up to the imagination.
Yeah, it's like, is she a pie or isn't she a pie?
I was more
They gave us a
referring
lot
to
of
the
good hints
to
that she
this.
probably
I was more directly referring to the scariest cave ever.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh hi, scary unidentifiable monster. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. And then
I love that she called it unidentifiable as well, because it sort of implies a Lovecraftian element. But that's neither here nor there.
Let's see. Other questions. Why is there a gnome?
because he's
Flutter-
FiveOFlutter, we don't know.
Yeah.
He's the pinky of the group. We just don't know.
We are asking that question of ourselves, and we have just accepted that it is the unknown answer to the universe.
He's answering all the questions. Okay.
A completely off-topic one is, do you read Ask Flufflepuff on Tumblr?
Of
Do you?
course, everybody reads Ask Flufflepuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, no, I don't know if you know this, but Flufflepuff is the biggest thing in this fandom. Like, period.
The fuck? No,
I'm
no.
not joking.
I thought you
it
were.
has more subscribers than anything ever in the fandom's history right now, except maybe Hot Diggity Demon. But it's
Wow.
coming up on him, so
Balls.
literally everyone knows what Flufflepuff is.
I legit thought it was you for a long time.
I'm not even close to that.
Okay.
If we want to continue talking about it, if anyone,
Yeah,
does
if
anyone
there's
have anything else to say that they just need to get off their chest about Vinyl and Octavia University?
before we go into the final like thoughts and everything else.
It
I think really all I have to say about it at this point is
amazing.
Okay, well let's go in order then, in the way that I introduce people. Or no, actually, let's go. Five. What were your final thoughts?
Go from left to right. I see it's like it's Digi, it's Cherax, it's FiveOFlutter, it's you, then it's me. And it's like that's the left to right order on my screen.
Yeah, but Digi is a renowned analyst, and you're an author. So it's like,
So
like
why does that have any difference on the order?
there's definitely more weight like to the things you would say.
Well, then that
There's
makes
a
it good that we're on
pecking order
opposite
around
ends.
Fine.
It
I'll,
does imply like some kind of incredible social hierarchy. No. Also, Penstroke, you have to remember that I'm the one streaming, so the left to right order on my screen would be Cherax Destructor, FiveOFlutter, Penstroke, Techno Shock, and then myself.
Well, then that works. This is like I'm.
and I've got
It's
something
like
completely different to that.
but fine, I'll just take care of it. Digi, you go first, since I'm the host anyway. Digi, go first.
Okay. My opinions overall.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very cute, very fun, very endearing fanfic with some characters that they really stick with me more so than the story itself. I feel connected to them almost as people in a way. You know, like if it's as if to me, like a really great character doesn't just exist in the narrative of its own story. It exists on its own, like as a standout thing in space, kind of. Almost like these characters are so well actualized that if I wanted to write my own fan fictions, or if I wanted to imagine my own scenarios with them, I could perfectly imagine what they're going to be like, you know? Which partly comes from just Vinyl and Octavia in general have that air about them where they're so similar in everything that they appear in as a couple that you've got this great sense of them.
You have
a
the,
hive mind consensus almost.
they
Yeah.
definitely have like a definite fanon identity.
Right, and when it's being mixed up and changing the story, like if you were to listen to Autumn Nights, the new concept album by Jeff Burgess, where he also takes this couple, but it's like a completely depressing story where they don't get together and Vinyl Scratch kills herself at the end. Like,
Oh, I know what song you're talking about. I know which one you're talking
and
about.
so you've got that
Really messed
like,
up
as
song.
a different version, but it still feels like the same
Characters.
Just like, what if they were on a different path by a different author, you know, like a different story, but it's still
But the characters
them,
remain the
like,
same.
you know, it's almost like alternate universe version of them. Like there's all these different Vinyl and Octavias that are the same in as many ways as they are different, and this one in particular resonates with me in a way that I feel like, you know, I know these two. I've been with them through their little journey. You know, they both kind of achieve self-actualization in the story. You know, they kind of don't understand themselves at the start, and by the end they understand themselves, and so we understand them now, and it's like we've been there through their whole journey. Like
They're not
like best
characters
friends.
anymore. They've transcended just being
Yeah,
things in a
they've
story.
transcended characters, and they've also become people that we know on like a personal level because we watched their entire development and everything.
All right, Cherax.
And that's my
What he said.
What he said. That's why I wanted to go the other. Whatever. That's why I wanted. Whatever. So what
I
he
think
said.
It's fantastic. I think I'm gonna keep reading it for like I can't say the future.
Well,
or
you
anything,
have
but
to
I think
finish
I'm
it
always
off.
gonna come back to. Oh, I mean like just coming back and like rereading the fic
Oh yeah.
as an enjoyable experience, like
Yeah.
when you watch your favorite
Definitely
movie
it's-
once a year or something.
That's one thing you can definitely give credit to University Days.
Rereadability.
It's a fic. Yeah, it's a fic that, unlike say Fallout Equestria, it's like it's not such a surmountable thing to read it again if you just want to enjoy the trip a second time.
It's definitely something you'd want to go back on. Like you did bring up Fallout Question, where it's just like, okay, I read through the whole thing once, I'm done, never going back because oh my god, it's too long.
I'm
And
sure
it's
there's
just
people
too much.
who will read all of that as well, though. I mean, because they.
It's just the
enjoy
bar of
story.
entry's lower. Like the
Right.
the patience required.
Yeah, there's definitely not
Yeah.
as much of a commitment to University as there would be to Fallout.
But I think more importantly, we reread it because it is on that level of it's.
Yeah.
It's like reading one of your favorite books or one of your favorite movies, like he said, where you know it's not just something throwaway. It's not something that you just like because you're a My Little Pony fan. You like it as a story, as its own thing. Like, even if it was, like, I won't say even if it wasn't My Little Pony, because then we probably wouldn't have read it in the first place, but regardless of the fact that it's about ponies, it's such a good story that it's not just a great My Little Pony fanfic, it's a great novel.
There were so many moments where like I knew it was a pony fic in the very beginning, but then for like the entire fic, I was like they weren't even like they were just characters. Every so often I'd be around like, oh wait, yeah, these are supposed to be ponies. It wasn't something like this is a pony fic, this is a pony fic, this is a pony fic. It was this is a story, regardless of what it's supposed to be in. It's a story.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely to Dawn's credit that like it doesn't beat you over the head with little ponyisms and stuff every single sentence.
Yeah, like there definitely are some fics that like really like just do that
and
too
when
much.
It does remind you that it's about ponies, it's always in a way that's I think that works for the story's benefit, like with the whole spell thing again, where it's like, oh yeah, these are magical unicorns, but that means we get to do this cool thing where they have a spell that makes it so you don't hear them having sex, you know? Like, it's such a clever way to tie in the fact that it's ponies with this realistic setting and make it feel congruent and everything. I wouldn't say that anything in the fic made me feel, oh, this totally is not the same universe as Equestria, except maybe the use of cell phones, but they do a good job of justifying it, so I don't know.
And they don't overstress. It's not like they're pulling out their phones out every 5 seconds. Like, oh, I got a text. Oh, I got a text from this person. I got a text from the other person.
No. Well, actually, chapter 3 is exactly like that, but they dropped it off.
But that's between them. That's between those two.
Yeah.
Okay. While five is indisposed, or at least he should be. Penn, your thoughts on the fic overall?
Overall, it's a good fic and strongly worthy of the
acclaim.
Much of the praise it's received. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, you said something in the middle, like, okay. It's like, there are the times I've seen it had its issues, like we've discussed earlier, where sometimes problems come up just to be resolved in the same scene.
Right.
And some general pacing nuances, but overall, it's like, definitely worth the time, worth the enjoyment, worthy to be dirty.
Yeah. For me, this was actually like I'm a bit like Digi, where like I was impressionable by this because a lot of the fanfics, I never really got into them, but I knew they were there. There was really nothing that interested me until I saw a Digi review. I'm like, okay, I trust his point of view. I'll see what it's about, and then I just went down the rabbit hole. We ended up here. Overall, the fic I thought was really great. The characters were believable. The subplots were like the subplot with Lyra and Bonbon. I really enjoyed the whole like little thing with like there was one point where I liked how the characters, even though they weren't the main ones, they were developing, like with Lyra and C-Top in one of the chapters. Was like, I don't even know why I hang out with you anymore, and then like she's like, oh yeah, I'm being kind of a bitch, sorry. He just does so many things with so many different characters, and then yeah, I will agree with you that there are some parts that seem like too like they just happen to work out in the exact way they needed to. But then with
there are another question. If you're done, if you're not, then continue.
I just have like a few more things. It's just
okay.
No, broke my train of thought. Keep going. Just ask the question.
Okay, sorry. We got a question here from the Warrior Scholar. I like how DawnFade had vinyl incorporate Octavia's classical playing through her dub trot remixes. What's your opinion?
Oh, like how
there's a cool song like that called something. Look it up.
Called
it's
something.
Linked in one of the chapters. There's someone did like their fan interpretation.
Oh,
of how
was
that
it?
would sound.
Was it?
These guys in Violet Eyes.
Yeah, that one.
I have that one.
Oh, I want it. I want to hear it. I've never heard it.
Oh, so I can pull it up if my iTunes will open. It's open. It just doesn't want to come up, as always.
There's definitely as someone who's listened to a lot of music, I felt like it was a natural kind of thing to do, and it was interesting that neither of them had really thought of that before, and I guess that was not a movement of music yet in the story, but it kind of it's something that as like real life people we can say, oh, well, I can see how that works because I've heard songs that are like that. But in the context of the story, it's a new genre, so it makes it so we can both say, like we can appreciate that there's a movement happening while also appreciating what it would sound like because it is a real kind of music.
Yeah, like people have been doing that for a little while now. And then, if I can pull up my damn iTunes, I would just restart.
If anyone here has read King Rat by China Mayville, I kind of had a bit of an association with that. But if you haven't read it, that will be meaningless to you. But if you have, hey,
Yeah, I haven't. I've heard of China Mayville, but I've never read any of his books.
shouts out to China Mayville if you're in the stream. Love your work.
I'm sure we'll get the video out there to him at some point.
Yeah.
In any case,
What was I saying before my train of thought just like went off the cliff?
I have no idea.
Something about like all the characters being really well manipulated, even if they weren't main characters at all.
Right.
Oh yeah, I was talking about how like some things would just like end up working out. I don't know. That train is not coming back. Basically, I love the fic, and you know, it was just amazing for me.
Sure, we missed a question.
10 out of 10.
We should have got somebody who really hates this fic, just to
Would
have
be
an
nice.
I
amazing
know him
review.
does.
I don't know how to contact nobody.
Oh, there's always somebody.
I assure you,
always
I can
somebody.
find them.
I bet you Digi has
Uh,
plenty of bad
guy.
things to say about it.
And
Is
the
there any
Rainbow
nitpick
musician
you can pull
who
out?
likes it, but
Digi?
he is very critical of it. Like, it's just like, I like it, but it's just fucking wish fulfillment. And, you know,
I mean, it is,
grumble,
but
grumble. Yeah, I know. I'm like,
it's,
dude, you can't
it's sort
say
of
that.
like,
You just go
yeah,
with it.
I mean, complaining about wish fulfillment, I mean, but you could say that about almost any media, unless it's, like, meant to make you feel bad. Almost all of it's wish fulfillment. It's just how obvious it is, you know, but it definitely is that. But if you're a romantic, a bleeding romantic who wants to have that, you know, in your life, then of course you're going to enjoy it, but it's totally wish fulfillment. No
Yeah.
question.
Like there really aren't
I've
any
talked
nitpicks to
Grimble
this.
about how he really wants, like, to be reading shit fics where everything goes wrong and, like, the relationship is strained and they don't get together in the end. I'm like, what do you can't find that. That doesn't exist.
That kind of breaks the definition of a ship fic almost.
In a sense.
It's like,
No,
oh,
just be a
it's
drama.
like it counts as a shippick because they got together in one chapter. That's what makes it count.
Yeah.
Whether or not they stay together is a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely incredibly fluffy and very light. There's nothing, you know, when things go wrong, they quickly resolve themselves. I don't know how I lost just now. I was
But
doing so
sometimes
fucking
you,
well.
but sometimes you like fluffy, and sometimes that's
Yeah,
what you need.
exactly.
Yeah, and then what I remember what I was going to say now. How you were talking about how certain things would just get resolved very quickly. Like Dawn would spend like a few months writing this, and like he's told me in the past, like he would like be writing a part of a chapter and just like be completely swamped with work, whether it's at his own studies or whatever. And then he'd go back, and then like he like, you know, people would be asking him like, "Where's the next chapter? Where's the next chapter?" So he's going to kind of like do something to wrap it up quickly, and then go on to the last part of that
Right.
chapter.
It's totally understandable. What I kind of hope he would do if he writes another, whether it's a fanfic or a novel, is to not go with the sequential release structure and just hide the whole thing till it's done. 'Cause that's the whole problem, is that if you're releasing stuff online, people expect a regular schedule, or they expect you to have some regularity with it. And, you know, when you get them hooked into your story, then
Especially
they
like
get
this one
upset
did.
when they don't get more. So that's why most novels aren't released that way, because the author wants to have time to make sure everything's fleshed out correctly and, you know, all that.
Yeah, and I'm sure.
I totally understand why, like, on the one hand, I'd go, oh, well, just don't give in to the demands of people, but I know how hard that can be as someone who, if, like, you know, I put out a video on the newest episode of My Little Pony, even though I had, like, nothing to say about it, because I didn't want my inbox to be, you know,
Exploding.
bludgeoned with a million people going, what are
What are your
think of the new
thoughts?
episode? How come you haven't put out a video yet? So, I get that perspective.
Yeah,
We have another question here. Is there anything you guys would change about the way the fic handles anything? And if so, what would it be?
That's a super generic question, but if there's anything that I would change, I don't know. Did you?
I mean, like we just said, we'd change how things get resolved so quickly, probably.
It's
The-
like,
Yeah.
have some problems that drag out a bit longer, that are kind of a continued bit of strife. It's like they can still resolve into their eventual happy ending, but just having some things that kind of were lingering in the background as tension, augmenting and perhaps even making worse other problems.
Right.
Oh, like
yeah.
having them stack on each other. It's like, oh, this
Have some
thing
stuff to
and this other
build,
thing.
Yeah.
Probably
for
make
me-
chapter 16
for
a bit
me-
more hardcore.
The ending, as much as I like it, I would have liked to see a few more chapters before the ending, because it did seem like we were like almost in the middle of an arc, and that we were going to come
Yeah.
down, but then it was just like arc end.
What I would have liked to see is if there had been more time, after they came up with that whole plan of how everything was going to work out, like how she was going to be able to come back the next semester, if we had, instead of an epilogue, a whole like other section of the story where we get to see that kind of fail and like really put a strain on their
Oh, the
relationship,
troubles of it.
and then they have to get through that, because we've got the whole story is pretty much wall to wall happy endings. So if we then there at some point would like to see
Like
the
they
part where it
all
got hard.
Yeah, no, it's like they all seem to agree that that was going to be something that would be a strain on their relationship more than anything, just because it would be something
Right.
that was going to would last for 6 months, no
especially
matter what.
especially with the whole like it's like, oh, they'd have to live apart and they wouldn't see each other very often because they'd be
They'd be
they would've been in
working,
school.
busy.
I mean,
But
I
they
think
get to see
some
each
of you
other
can
at work.
agree with me as someone who is over, maybe the younger participants might not get this as much, but you, Penstroke and Cherax, I'm pretty sure you guys are older than I am even, and you must understand the idea of like making plans that are kind of like that one, and about how well those plans typically go for about college age students. I don't know, how old are you, Cherax, actually? I don't even know. I just assumed
20.
you were over. You're only 20? Okay, well, never mind. Penstroke, how old are you, though? Okay, so you can agree with me here, right? Like, you get what I mean? That like that plans of that nature, of that like of that level of
That
things
magnitude.
have to fall into place, are just not. They're
Yeah,
not going to work out
the
that well.
longer your plan has to run, the more opportunities for it to be proven acceptable, I
Right.
should say.
And
Yeah.
the complexity, because anytime it's like changing houses, anytime it's a new money situation, anytime it's something that requires other people to be involved and requires their plans to follow through as well. If you have to meet all four of those requirements, which this does, it's like they're assuming that Lyra and Bonbon's business is always going to go well, that Lyra and Bonbon's relationship's going to keep going well, that their relationship's going to keep going well, that they're going to, be able to meet up, that it's not going to be too much stress, that neither one of them's going to like freak out or anything, that
And that
Oxy's going to be able to easily get back to her studies afterwards. There's like so much that can
And the fact
can
that
go wrong.
and
some of
they're
it
also assuming with the
should
6
have.
months of work that she'll be able to get back in,
Right.
like she'll be able to pay her tuition, because I think she said with the 6 months she was going to pay for the whole year, right?
No, she was like 6 months would provide a buffer to get things going, and then she was going to be doing part-time.
Yeah,
schooling
that's
and part-time
6 months
work.
full time and then 6, and then the
And
rest
I mean,
is
part of the requirement there was that, because she was like, oh, well, I won't be able to afford it if I have to pay for the food and board. And Vinyl's were like, well, I'll start doing shows. I was starting to get popular. And it's like, that one was a huge variable that could have easily gone south, And think of how big of a strain that would have been if Vinyl had failed at that aspect. And that would have been both a strain on their relationship, a strain on the money situation. It would have been like a really difficult hurdle to get over. But again, we're trying to wrap up the story, not make it infinitely
Last
more
longer.
adult and complicated. So I don't know. I guess I want to see the grown-up version of them where they have the bigger
Like
grown-up
post
problems
university
that can't
days?
be resolved in a couple days.
Post-grad days.
It's the
Post-grad day.
post-drama to the actual drama.
It's like Final and Octavia adulthood.
Or I guess real drama as opposed to melodrama is what it would be.
Vinyl and Octavia pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
Fall
story
behind
I
on
want
their
next.
mortgage. Or
Maybe because I'm growing older and I'm at a point in my life now where like that's the kind of conflict I appreciate more than like the simple like who am I as a person. It's like I'm kind of past that, so now I want like how do I deal with the struggles of
Real life.
adult and So I guess it's like a selfish, personal, like I want more adult, grown-up version stories now.
I'm like
I just
in
want
the
to see
middle.
how they do it so I can be like, oh, that's how you do it, right. I'm
Right,
taking notes.
exactly.
Oh,
They had
so
it way
that's how
too
you
easy.
don't
Nobody's
fail.
gonna have that situation where just their two best friends are running a fucking, you know,
Big business that's
Candy
going to
store,
open in
yeah.
multiple cities.
right.
I mean, that's like a cash horse right there.
Cash cow.
You could say cow. There are cows in that universe.
There are
Yeah.
cows.
I know there are cows, but I'm going to bring up something else. Never mind. It doesn't even relate to this fic at all. Oh yes, there is, for everyone who is watching, there is one more surprise for all of you.
Oh,
Is it
no.
sexy?
Oh,
Huh?
are we still going through with that? I forgot about it.
Oh.
What?
Cherax, I believe, is who we're.
Yes.
who we're trying
Yeah,
to
I was looking for Techno to say something.
Well, I don't want to just say the surprise. I'm like, come, you know what to do. Oh, fine.
What is he just like? He just has it off screen, just like pulls it in. It's like, oh,
That's
I've been waiting for this.
That's what I was kind of hoping for, but okay. For all of you
Just
who,
pan the camera down. My camera has been there this whole time.
Right, exactly. He's
For-
been ready, fingers on the frets, just like
Come on.
bleeding from holding them down for so long.
Incidentally, I'm not ready at all. I need to go get my guitar from the other room.
Okay.
All right.
While you go get your guitar, I'll introduce the special surprise we have planned.
Okay.
All right.
Originally, what I had planned was to have music playing throughout the review, but we weren't able to do that due to technical difficulties. However, we can still do this one surprise for all of you watching. I know you guys all love, or all those of you who have heard Cherax's song, the Rescue acoustic version, love the song. So I've gotten Cherax. He's agreed to play it live for us from his couchy area. And as soon as he comes back-
Skype lag doesn't. Oh, everyone is gonna need to mute. No, not Skype lag, but Google Hangouts lag. You're all gonna need to mute your mics while he's playing so that it doesn't create any sound problems.
Oh, that's true.
Fine.
Well, if there's any other like last minute questions coming through, Five, like before Cherax.
Well, we do have one question, but it's not completely related. What is your favorite fic if it's not University Days?
I haven't read too many. I currently am working on. I've currently read 4 fics that I've heard about. University Days is over with. I finished through Pegasus Rescue Brigade's Shipping and Handling. I'm currently reading 2 fics right now, which are Shipping and Handling's sequels. Shipping and Handling sequel, Hocus Pocus, which deals with Dinky going to like a magical academy, and then Tommy Oliver's fic of What You Mean to Me.
Penstroke, I feel like you'll have the most interesting answer here because I'm sure you actually read fanfic.
Oh, you give me too much credit. I don't read as much as I'd like, because otherwise, like, oh, I have free time to get that right. Everyone's right, but a few that come to mind that have not yet been mentioned. Mort Takes a Holiday is one that's kind of in the same vein of delightful, fun, fluffy stuff, in a way, at least to the point I remember it. I Ain't Got No Accent.
I've seen that one. I haven't read it. I'm not sure what it's supposed to. I think it's a comedy tag, right?
Yeah, it's Apple Jacketed convention of some sort, I believe, with Rarity. Tilt by Passport Clean, which is one I always like to reference because it's Trixie is a pinball wizard. That's just fun. That's a fun thought in its own right. And then a series I always like to recommend is The Turning of the Screwball, The Strange Case of Button Stitch. It's like
I've seen that one.
That's a trilogy of stories about one poor seamstress shop owning mayor who is the crazy character we saw in the
Turns into
Return of
Screwball.
Harmony episode. So, hi, Rouge. Hi, Kitty Kitty.
As for fanfictions, I like besides University Days, which is my favorite.
You can't forget the
fanfiction, is
title.
Past Sins. Past Sins by far is probably one of my favorite fanfics. It's been a long time since I've read it, but it really gave me a lot of emotions. it gave me emotions. I didn't have them before Pasadena.
It gave me feels I did not know I could feel.
Exactly. There's that one by Pen Stroke, the Moonshine one. I can't remember the name, but it was funny.
Drop of Moonshine.
Drop of Moonshine. I like that one. I guess I kind of liked Cupcakes. Not really. There was Milo Dashi, which was kind of emotional, but like I didn't really, So yeah, Past Sins. That's my answer to that.
I don't even have to plug myself this time. Yay.
What about you, Cherax? We're talking about favorite fics.
Favorite fics.
Not
Well,
including university.
Notwithstanding universities, yeah. Building bridges is one of those things like University Days where it's very kind of cheesy in a sense. The plot resolves itself very quickly, but it's just a really great, like really nicely written Rainbow Dash and Twilight Sparkle ship fic, which I suddenly support and actually wrote a song about. And Background Pony is something I'm still like less than halfway through because it's 400,000 words long, and oh my god, it's huge. But like, yeah, Short Skirts of the Explosion has a really distinct style. Sometimes it's really jarring, but sometimes it's one of like best fanfiction out there. It's really, really, it's distinct, if nothing else, and often brilliant. So
Okay, and
I think Cherax is about ready to play, right?
Well, you have to.
well, Digi.
Digibrony has to mention his favorites first.
yes,
yeah,
you don't get out of it. You have to.
That would be the University Days.
Well, other than
Well,
that,
he's like, you have to say something else other than that.
Like I said, that would be implying I've read anything else.
Lying face down, drunk on the sidewalk, thinking of her. Is it love or all of this booze that's got me confused? I'm not sure. It's late and it's cold, and you just called to say hello, and I should be there for you. And I could be your rescue. You need each other. Go to her, go to her. No time to wonder. Go to her, go to her. How long you've yearned for this, and then to all your loneliness. That you've earned this sweet success. After all these years spent alone, I'm finally found. Feel my heart in a straight time pound to the beat of the strange new sound. I'm so drawn on you, the way you move your sunset tunes. Nothing's how we planned it. One more step towards me. We have to take this gambit. Your shaking body. You need each other. Go to her, go to her. Don't stop to wonder. Go to her, go to her. And every moment's led to this. Flustered, glad and